What if the tiniest creature in the garden held the biggest secret? When darkness threatens to swallow the world, one little ladybug will prove that even the smallest hero can make the biggest difference. The extraordinary ordinary bug. In the sun-drenched, vibrant garden of Bloomville, where colorful flowers stood tall like nature's skyscrapers and buzzing bees performed their daily pollen dances, lived a little ladybug named Lila. But Lila wasn't just any ladybug. While her hundreds of brothers and sisters were content to munch on aphids and nap on rose petals, Lila was different. She was a curious explorer, a tiny adventurer with a heart full of wonder. Her most prized feature was her brilliant crimson-red wings, dotted with 7 perfect black spots that shimmered like polished obsidian. However, unknown to anyone, including Lila herself, these spots held an ancient magical secret. They were the 7 sparks of sunlight, a dormant power passed down through generations of ladybugs. "You're too small to make a difference, Lila," her older brother would often say, his voice muffled by a juicy aphid. "Just eat, sleep, and be happy." But Lila couldn't shake the feeling that she was meant for something more. She spent her days exploring the furthest corners of the garden, from the dewdrop-adorned spiderwebs to the hidden world beneath the mushroom caps. The creeping shadow. One morning, Lila awoke to a terrifying sight. A strange, silent gloom was spreading through Bloomville. It wasn't a cloud or a shadow, but a creeping absence of life. Where the gloom touched, colors faded, flowers drooped, and the cheerful sounds of the garden fell silent. The sunlight seemed to weaken, and a chill settled in the air. The garden's wise old monarch butterfly, Master Wingweaver, called an emergency meeting at the grand old oak tree. "Friends," he fluttered, his voice grave, "this is the gloom, an ancient enemy of light and life. It feeds on fear and despair. If it covers our entire garden, the light will be extinguished forever, and our home will become a gray wasteland." Panic spread through the insect community. The bumblebee's buzz became frantic, the ants scurried in chaotic lines, and the caterpillars stopped munching, paralyzed with fear. "The ancient prophecy," Master Wingweaver continued, his eyes scanning the crowd, "speaks of a crimson guardian with 7 star marks who can reignite the sun sparks and drive back the gloom." Everyone looked around. Who could this be? A fierce dragonfly? A strong beetle? No one even glanced at the tiny ladybug hiding on a leaf. The first spark ignites. As the gloom slithered toward the rosebush nursery, where the youngest flower buds were sleeping, Lila knew she had to act. She couldn't let the garden she loved fade away. Taking a deep breath, she flew directly into the path of the gloom. It was like flying into a cold, sticky void. The darkness whispered to her, telling her she was too small, too weak, too insignificant. But Lila thought of the baby rosebuds, of her family, of the entire garden. A fierce determination warmed her tiny body. Suddenly, one of the spots on her back began to glow with a brilliant golden light. It was the first spark of courage. The beam of light shot out, piercing the gloom like a laser. The darkness recoiled, hissing, and retreated from the rosebuds. A small patch of color and warmth was restored. Master Wingweaver gasped. "The Crimson Guardian, it's Lila!" The quest for the remaining sparks. Lila was the hero from the prophecy, but one spark wasn't enough. To defeat the gloom completely, she had to awaken all 7. Master Wingweaver explained that each spark was tied to a different virtue and a different part of the garden. And so, Lila embarked on an epic, garden-wide quest. The spark of hope, the wishing pond. Lila had to encourage a discouraged tadpole who didn't believe it would ever become a frog. Her kind words ignited her second spot, filling the pond with hopeful light. The spark of kindness, the ant colony. The gloom had blocked the ants' main food tunnel. Lila, using her small size, navigated a tiny side tunnel to bring them food, awakening her third spark, the spark of teamwork, the tallest sunflower. To reach the next spark, Lila had to work with a line of ants to form a living chain, proving that together they were stronger. The spark of perseverance, the spider's web. Trapped on a giant web, Lila had to carefully and patiently free herself without breaking the delicate threads. The spark of wisdom, the lily pad library. She solved a riddle from a wise old frog to learn the gloom's weakness. The spark of joy, the beehive. The bees were too sad to pollinate. Lila organized a joyful dance party, reminding them of the beauty they were fighting for. With each new spark that ignited, Lila grew a little brighter, and the garden grew a little warmer. The final confrontation. Now glowing like a flying ember, Lila faced the heart of the gloom, which had gathered in the garden's center. It had taken the form of a massive, swirling vortex of darkness. "You are just one small bug," the gloom boomed. "Your light is nothing against my darkness." Lila felt a flicker of doubt. But then she heard the voices of her friends behind her. The bees, the ants, the butterflies, and all the creatures of Bloomville had gathered. They weren't just watching, they were reflecting her light, amplifying it with their own hope and courage. "You're wrong," Lila declared, her voice clear and strong. "I am not just one bug. I am a part of this garden, and it is a part of me." She focused all her energy, and all 7 sparks of sunlight blazed with the power of a miniature sun. A wave of pure, brilliant light erupted from her, washing over the entire garden. The gloom let out a final, silent shriek and vanished, utterly dissolved by the power of light and community. The guardian of Bloomville. Color flooded back into Bloomville. The flowers stood taller and brighter than ever before, their petals shimmering with renewed vitality. The air was warm again, filled with the triumphant buzz and chirp of a saved ecosystem. Lila's spots had returned to normal, but everyone now saw her for what she truly was, the Crimson Guardian, the brave heart of the garden. She hadn't been born the strongest or the fastest, but she had proven that courage, kindness, and a determined spirit were the most powerful magic of all. From that day on, whenever a young insect felt small or insignificant, the elders would tell them the story of Lila, the little ladybug who saved the world, reminding everyone that even the smallest hero can cast the biggest shadow of light. And the next time you see a ladybug in your garden, take a closer look. It might just be Lila, or one of her descendants, keeping a watchful eye over the world, one tiny spark at a time.